Hi, and welcome to College Planning Untangled, where we simplify the lives of our soon to be college families or those that are already in the throes of it and trying to figure things out. I'm Kristin Clark. I'm here with Bobby Hood. Bobby, how are we doing today?
Just great. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this because we talk so much about, like taking the SAT and ACT and choosing a college. And that's just this pathway that everybody assumes, kids 5 years old, and they're like, oh, they're going to be going to this college, right? But college is not for everybody at all, right?
No, in fact, we talk a lot about this subject, Bobby, that 30% of kids that go off to college don't return after their freshman year. So what that tells you is either they weren't prepared, they weren't
Mhm.
quite sure why they were there, or maybe it just wasn't the right place in the beginning.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because if you start from age 5 thinking my kid's going to go to college, then not going to college seems like a failure. But it's
Yes.
but it's not necessarily a failure, right?
No.
Because there are so many other pathways, and if you can figure out that your pathway is in college, well, then you don't have a year of college tuition debt. I mean, that investment. Imagine what if you knew that what kind of business, if you knew your strengths and what kind of business you want to do, and it's a business that you could just found and start up, right? That you could start creating. You could have taken that all that tuition money and used that to start the business, right?
Absolutely. And I think too, there's such a stigma in a lot of circles where,
Mhm,
oh, it's college or die. And it's like, no, not really. And
mhm.
I'm getting more and more conversations around this, Bobby, with, helping students figure out a career path where families are asking me, hey, what do you have out there for people that don't want to go to college? So, let's dive in because there's a lot of different pathways that you can take. And, last week we talked about trades.
Yep.
And Bobby, I'm going to share that resource again. I've spent a little bit more time on it since last week. And I'll tell you, I'm amazed
Mhm.
at just the list of all the different trades that you can go into.
I
And
was
it's
too. I saw
something,
so many really good jobs,
oh
right?
my
Really
gosh,
good jobs.
absolutely. And it's stuff that sometimes you think you need a college degree
Mhm.
and you might not.
Right.
I was listening. There's a lady on TikTok that she's talks about just no degrees and how to move forward. And one of the things she talked about is having an awesome portfolio. So let's say you're in, developing games
Mhm.
or video games, or you're in the arts like a graphic designer.
Yep.
Having a standout portfolio
Mhm.
is actually a really good ticket into that first job. And I'll tell you, Bobby, every kid's going to need it going into that anyway. So it's
Yep.
like,
Right.
even though let's say you've got your college degree, you still have to develop that knockout portfolio. So
Right. They're not going to hire you just because you got the college degree. Right. They're going to want to see a
absolutely.
portfolio. Right.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about automotive, we're talking about a lot of the health and sciences too. Being a radiologist, going into
Mhm.
culinary, any of your computer type stuff. So
Mhm.
there's so much out there that you can get involved in, just either going to trade school or doing a little bit of homework and figuring out what you need to do to get prepared.
Absolutely. Right. And so that's what it was just so surprising to look at that list and see that. And of course, there's the trade school side of things. There's community colleges, there are associate's degrees, right? Which community colleges also cover a lot of trades as well. And then there are specialized trade schools, right? And there are other options as well. I mean, uh, when people start talking about like going into the military, well, there's a path where you can go to the military and then they'll pay for college for you, or
Yes.
the military itself, right? Because the training you get, if you're not prepared for college, military life is going to, if you're the kind of person who can do that, it's going
Yeah.
to give you that training that's going to make you able, like, anyone's always happy to hire, somebody who's
Oh, for
ex-military.
sure. And
They know
it's
they're going to be
interesting.
on time. They know that they're going to have a great work ethic. Yeah.
Yeah. And Bobby, I look at the military and I go, wow, they do provide a lot of different options. So they either teach you a trade,
Yep.
you get military, like being a military person for life. I'm losing the term.
Right.
Or like you said, like for a kid that just isn't sure and is having a hard time coming up with that career path, they give you the option of, like you said, paying for college afterwards too. Good friend of mine, his son was in the military and now he's getting his law degree paid
Yeah.
for by the
Exactly.
government.
Right. Absolutely. Right. Yeah. When I was in law school, a bunch of ex-military people are in there doing exactly that. Right. And then, turning around and going back in, and they, what they would, you'd go and spend a couple of years in Army JAG, the, Army Attorney office. Right. And you do that for a couple of years, and then that paid for their law school, so same idea. There's lots of different routes. And I think the other thing too, is that the current generation that's coming up, they've been watching this stuff on TikTok. They know that the traditional pathway that we all grew up with was like, oh, you're going to go to college and you're going to do this, and you're going to have one job, and you're going to, whatever. Like, that's not how life works anymore. Right. And they know that.
It's not, Bobby, but I will tell you, in my heart of hearts, I feel like it's more the parents holding on to that
right
ideology that, college is the only way to go. So I do think that the kids these days are open to that thought. Here's the challenge. If you've been hearing for, 15 years recollection that, you are going to college, I think too, we got to be really careful about that and make sure that kids know that they have an option.
Absolutely.
And to think outside that box and not just check it and keep moving forward,
Yeah. And I think from the other side, I was saying that, parents may be, from the parent perspective here, they may be just zeroed in on college, and they're not noticing that their kid has other ideas and not listening. Right. And so this is where you might need to sit down and listen and say, hey, am I pushing you into something you're not ready for? Because then they're going to be one of that 30% who leaves after the first.
Yeah. And Bobby, it's all about arming yourself with facts. And I think for parents, it's reminding me of what I'm going through right now with buying a house again. We rented for a few years after the pandemic, just because we're like, wow, it's crazy out there. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And in my head, I kept going, oh, I got to buy, because that's what we've been told for so long. I kind of equate that same thing. They're obviously different, but I still equate that same thing as we've been buying into this theory for so long. As a parent, I think it's hard too, to just take a step back and go, you know what, let's look at the facts. Let's sit down and really think about who my kid is, what's right for him or her, and be okay with just at least opening your mind to different ideas. You can still boomerang back to college, and that's fine. Whatever's right for your family is just fine. But leaving yourself open to, let's at least talk through it, I think is healthy for kids too, because they may end up right back in, no, college is the right place for me. Or they might go, Mom, I don't know. I don't think it is. Right.
Sure. And that's part of the thing is, I mean, and this always circles back to this. I mean, you can't really know what the right pathway is for you until you have a good idea of what your strengths are and what careers would work well for that. And that's where students can work with you and take a class or work one-on-one and figure out their strengths and think about careers. But then if the careers you start landing on are careers that you can build yourself, right, then take that tuition money that you were going to spend on that 1 year and then leave college and use that to start a business, right? And go to a career coach and learn about entrepreneurship and go do the thing, right?
And Bobby, I'll give you a really good example of that. I was working with a teen. He was a freshman in college, and he's like, Kristin, I just don't know why I have to be in college, because I want to be a realtor. Right. I've known this. I really want to do that. I know I don't need college for this. Right. Yeah, and the more we got talking about it, I was like, Ashton, listen, your mom and dad feel like it's really important that you go to college, if nothing else, as a backup plan, and they're willing to pay for it. So, even though you're right, you don't have to go to college to be a realtor. Your parents it's important to them. But let's talk about why it's important and what you can do in college. Right. So it's important to you too. What we found out is he could get a minor in real estate.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
So he was in business, minor in real estate. And all of a sudden he got on board, Bobby. He's like, you know what? I get it. I'm going to be learning some stuff, get a little age below me. I can go intern at the local real estate,
Right. Broker. Yeah, absolutely. Because you may know that you want to be a realtor, but nobody's going to take an 18-year-old realtor seriously, perhaps, right?
Well, I'm
And so,
not
yeah,
spending
you
a
need, and
half
you need to
million
get that
dollars, no, on a house with an
experience.
18-year-old. I'm not.
Right.
And we have those discussions. Yeah.
But that's the thing is like, so there are factors here, right? Which is, okay, I know what I want to do. Okay, but then yeah, if the cost is taken care of, if you but oh, I see, and that's the point you're making is, the career, then he can make the right choice for college and go get a degree that actually will help toward what you've done. Because yeah, who would have even known that real estate is an available minor,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
that's really cool.
So I think this is also an interesting way to kind of turn that upside down for parents
Mhm.
too, and go, hey, listen, if your kid is saying, I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to, guess what's going to happen? They're going to mess up that whole 4 years
Oh yeah,
because out of
right,
spite, and it's just part of being a kid, you're going to do it.
right,
So having the open discussion, I think, was really important for this family.
right. So
You
yeah,
know?
get sit down and listen and figure out and start talking careers,
Yeah.
and then see if you can find a compromise where they understand why college could be valuable for the thing they want to do.
And at the end of the day, it's what's the right path for that kid
Exactly.
and what they want to do. So, so college, you don't, number one, you don't have to do it to be
Mhm.
successful, depending on what you want to do at the end, right? And number two, it's not a failure if you don't go. You brought that up early, and I think that's a huge thing for people to realize is it's not a failure.
Well, right, and I guess to wrap that up too, also on the flip side, like it's okay to say no to college, and really, honestly, you should only go if you're saying yes to it, right? Because if you're pushing the kid into it and they don't want to go, yeah, they're not gonna they're not gonna enjoy it. They're not gonna do well. They're not gonna perform well. It's gonna be a bad experience, right? So you've got to do what you to do to be saying yes to the thing that you want to do, right? Whatever it is. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. And I will tell you from experience over and over and over and over again, Bobby, if your teen decides that they want to do something
Yeah.
as far as a career path, right? They will get it done. They will do what's right for that. And
Yeah.
again, now you've got facts, you've got options. It could mean college, it doesn't have to. So
Yeah. Exactly.
it's all about facts. Gather the facts.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
That's great. I'll talk to you next time.
All righty. See you, Bobby.